All right, folks, welcome back to Not Your Average Plumber. We're going to continue on with the tankless conversation. We'll continue on with the typical questions we get from the customers. Then we're going to move into a little bit of the installation and the maintenance.
How much does one of these units cost?
They will tell you typically, if you look on a website or even talk to a contractor, normally you're going to pay about 2 to 2.5 times that of a standard tank. The reason it costs so much more is obviously there's a lot more technology involved than on a standard tank, but your recoup time on these is actually fairly good. Most people will say it's 10 years or less. Some manufacturers, depending on the place that you live and the cost, you might actually take a little bit longer. But with a tank, there is no recoup time. You're just on borrowed time until that tank either fails, leaks, or starts running out of parts. With these, you're actually putting money back in your pocket every year that this thing's in service.
So when you say recoup time, that's the amount of time it's going to take for me
that's
to
amount,
get
yeah.
my money back for the cost?
If we base this off, say, the savings of typically with the normal home, what they pay for gas around here, you're looking at saving about $200 a year. So you figure if you pay around $2,000, you figure 10 years you've recouped your money.
So how much, what's the bottom line for one of these? What's the price?
Standard for this particular unit, usually on the outdoor application, you're usually somewhere from $1,700 to $2,100 depending on permitting and getting the gas and the water piping there. Now with the indoor unit, as we touched on a little bit earlier, you will have the vent material to consider. The reason you might think about doing this inside versus the outside, a lot of the ones we do are outdoor units. A lot of people like the idea of storage space. I get rid of the tank inside, there's no potential for a leak, there's no flooding going to happen, so they like to put these outside. The catch is we all know what we wait down here for hot water. The last little episode we had, we talked to you about the recirc pump. If this heater is located in your utility room, in a closet inside the house, or even towards the inside of the garage, if we take that heater and we physically move it from where it's at all the way over to an outside point just to put it outside, you're actually going to create a little bit of extra time on that hot water. And I can tell you from experience, you will not save enough in the fuel to pay for the extra water with the cost of water down here. So for people that have the heater on the inside, and this is why we come out and talk to you, I would usually implore you where that heater's at, if it's indoor, to keep it indoor, spend a little bit extra on this vent material, and you'll be much happier with the product.
Or if possible, go right through the wall where it's at.
Yes, if you are on an external wall where it is located and you don't want to do the outdoor application, they do what they call a sidewall protrusion. It's actually where the vent comes out the top. It's a small little 90. It pokes directly out your sidewall. Looks like a real fancy dryer vent. It's UV rated. It's not going to break down in the sun. That would be the cheapest way still to do them inside.
Now, do we need anything special to mount this to the outside of the house?
No, sir. No, sir. Usually the only thing we do special is if you have vinyl siding, because the back of this is flat, in order not to crush your vinyl, we'll stick about a 1/2-inch piece of strut behind it just to hold it off the house. But as far as that, it doesn't matter otherwise.
So what's the maintenance on this?
Maintenance on these units are a little bit different than with your tank. Because there is no stored water, there is nowhere for calcium to collect. So with the tankless unit, there is some flushing that needs to be done. All manufacturers are going to recommend that you have a certified plumbing technician come out to do the service. We recommend that at least the first time you let us show you how to do it. If you are any type of a capable homeowner, the process is so simple you could do it on your own. Unfortunately, I'm not going to get too in-depth on it because we don't have a lot of time for that, but the parts needed are actually built right into the bottom of the heater. If you are on a well, we are in Citrus County, many of you people are on well systems. One of your biggest maintenance thing, and this one I do want to point out, on your cold water inlet, there's an inlet filter screen inside here. If you ever happen to notice that the flow has slowed down and it's not working like it used to, sometimes it's going to show you an error code, sometimes that flow is just going to go away. What you would want to do, shut your water down to the unit by these two valves here, of which we show you at the installation. Check your little filter screen. If the filter screen is full of particles, you want to rinse it out, reinsert it back into the heater, fire it back up, see what it does. Most normal circumstances, that's probably going to fix the first major issue that you run into. We have a couple products that we offer that are not quite water softeners that also help in the maintenance on these. If you have a water softener system, you will pretty much take your maintenance down to zero because you are treating the water before it ever even gets to the unit. It has taken the calcium and all the other harmful impurities out. So if you have a softener, your maintenance is going to be pretty much nothing. But the trick with these is the heat exchanger that's inside here, you're talking about a copper tubing that's about a little bit bigger diameter than 3/8 copper tubing. If you think about it personally with your arteries in your heart, if your artery starts to get clogged up with calcium or for us plaque, it's going to affect the heart being the tankless. So with the tankless, maintenance is very key, but if you take care of the unit, you're going to expect about 15 to 20 years, which is almost double what a tank gets you anymore.
What's the warranty on this? Warranty
on these particular units, Rinnai, Rheem, most major manufacturers are going to give you 5 years, parts, and labor. So for the first 5 years this unit's in existence, the entire unit's covered. After that, where the heat exchanger is, that's about a 30-pound chunk of copper. That's where the water's going through above the burner to get heated. It's pretty much the most expensive thing inside the box. It's actually covered for 12, so their warranties are incredible.
And you say the life of this is approximately 20 years?
15 to 20 years. Now, I will tell you, if you do not maintain them, you're not going to get near that life. Our biggest call, they're about 8 to 10 years old. They're not producing hot water. They've never been serviced. We're there for 3 hours flushing them out. They get back working like from the day that they were installed.
Now for that warranty you were talking about, is there maintenance you have to perform to maintain the warranty?
No, sir. But what will happen is if you do not do the maintenance and we go to service the unit and we talk to tech support and they can verify it to neglect, they're less likely to actually cover a part if it was damaged or the unit, say, in a critical failure if the unit decided to fail and leak.
Okay.
Also with the indoor units, real quick, if you decide to do one indoor on the leak process, there is actually a leak sensor that's built into the bottom of the unit. If for any reason down the road, if the heat exchanger tried to develop a leak, the flow switch will actually lock itself out. If it senses as much as a 20-ounce bottle cap, which is very little water, it will lock it out. It will stop water from coming into the unit. The most you could ever lose is the 1 gallon that's stored up inside the heat exchanger. So that's pretty critical for people that spend a lot of time out of town. We deal with a lot of snowbirds. That's probably one of the bigger things that leads them towards a tankless is knowing that they're not going to come home to a flooded garage.
Now, is this plugged in or hardwired in?
You can do either. The indoor units have just a 5-foot pigtail for plugging them in. The outdoor units, you can either plug them in or hardwire them in. So we're getting ready to break again. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more real quick on the installation. We've covered most of that. We want to show you a product that we brought. Dan's going to explain to you, and then we're going to cover that program from Florida Public Utilities, which is really going to help, if you have them, it's really going to help you save money on this unit. So when we come back, we'll cover these few things. We'll see you here in a minute.